Okay, so for me that highlights the value of using those indirect measurements on the leaf area to really understand what happens at the plant level in terms of nitrogen transfer, regardless of water use. It's also an invitation to change a little bit the paradigm, because we've been classically monitoring nitrogen at Bloom, at Veraison, when a lot of things are happening and the values of nitrogen aren't stable. So you really need to track those temporal variations in order to better assess the needs of the plant. So to link with the next presentation, essentially I would like to put in perspective what we've learned so far. We have described that there are 5 hierarchical periods during the season, and we know what to track as far as plant and climatic parameters go. During the second part, we'll explore the fruit. In terms of fertilization, given the low nitrogen uptake in 2018, it's a good idea to monitor climate parameter during period 1 and 2 and adjust the timing and rate of an application. It's also a good idea when we want to be reactive a little bit later in the season to consider other alternatives, such as the nitrogen spray on the canopy, as opposed to only go through the root. There has been some very interesting work done by Verdenal. Also, you can find it on Google if you look at his name and nitrogen spray. In terms of irrigation, what is the stage so far? Well, we know that by the end of June, we should be able to understand what has been the timing of maximal plant water needs, when has it been reached, and from there, if it's an early timing like 17 or a delayed timing like 18, adjust your irrigation strategy accordingly. And then during period 4 and 5, we've understood that we will need to incorporate the effect of a vapor pressure deficit onto vine water status and berry composition. So that's kind of what was the nutshell of this slide that unfortunately doesn't show up nicely. So in order to transition into the next speaker, I wanted to see if we could start putting ourselves in the position of defining the specific fruit profile through the monitoring of a given water strategy. And in order to do that, I think we need to reconsider a little bit how we analyze water status changes, as opposed to look indirectly at the water potential inside the plant, which is dependent upon water deficit in the air and water deficit in the soil. So it's very difficult from a water potential to directly assess the plant water needs. Just look at the water use and learn from that. So in order to do that, there are several approaches. I'm going to speak about a direct one, and there are also indirect measurements looking at a relationship between energy at the vineyard versus atmospheric level. But looking at the direct measurement, it's based on the transpiration, the water flow inside the plant. The water deficit index is like a checking balance. It says how much more water the plant could have used, provided it did not experience any water deficit. And how do we do that? Well, we create the ratio of maximal water use, which is defined from the KCB max, versus actual transpiration. So when this ratio is at 100%, it means that the plant is transpiring all the water it possibly can. And when this water deficit index is lower, it means that the plant is experiencing a deficit compared to what it would normally use if it had all the water it needs in the world. So bear in mind that in the next slides, when the water deficit index is high, it means the level of vine water satisfaction is high, so no stress. And if the water deficit index is low, it means more stress. So the goal now is to analyze sequentially water deficit index during the 3 periods I have defined that are relevant for fruit composition effect, understanding from there, and predict the relationship that water deficit can have onto fruit ripening. So let's dive into it. And first, I synthesize what's in the literature. We know from the literature that if water deficit is low, if the stress is high during period 3, so pre-veraison, we expect a smaller final berry size. We'll expect an earlier start for sugar loading. We'll expect an earlier end of active sugar loading, so the D+0, which is that stage when sugar stops being actively accumulated. We also expect an increase in anthocyanin and phenolic substances, and based upon research led in Australia by Sadras and Cooley, a potential for an easier color extraction from the skin into the wine. So that's everything you can derive from what's happening during period 3. And of course, those effects will be seen, some of them after harvest. What has been the situation? So here I'm looking at all the subflow sites where we've been tracking hourly water use variations across Napa. And what the picture is showing is that the same trend that we had seen in KCB Max is apparent in terms of water deficit index. In other words, there has been constantly less stress across Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, and Merlot. And we can even quantify that difference. But the take-home is really that we have here objective parameter to show that there was a low water deficit during period 3 in 2018. What can we infer from that? Well, it suggests that maximum berry volume may be higher, and we'll see if it's true, and to which extent, that the start of veraison may be delayed, and 3, that the sugar loading may last longer because there will be a need for more time at a steady sugar rate to load a berry that is larger. And we'll see if it is true. Period 4. How to interpret the water deficit index during period 4? Well, if there is more stress, if the water deficit index is lower, active sugar loading might be disrupted. So we'll see stop and go instead of a smooth loading of sugar per berry. The date of maximum sugar amount per berry, D+0, the date of the peak of anthocyanin may also be hastened and appear earlier. There is also a greater risk of berry volume loss and color degradation, particularly if days are hot and if the day length is greater simply because that stage has been reached earlier. And it's also an indication, if the stress is more important, that the vintage footprint on wine composition and color extraction will be more important. It's less so in a year like 2018, where you see that really the stress was not as strong as it had been last year. And overall, it's the lowest stress we've experienced from a subflow standpoint over the last 3 years. What does that mean? Well, we take home that it's definitely a low water deficit year. It suggests that the sugar loading accumulation should be smooth, that the maximal amount of sugar per berry, the S-max, should be higher, and we'll see if it's true, and that the date when the stage of active loading of sugar into the berry should be delayed. Now, let's look at the last period. If the stress is higher, therefore if the water deficit index is lower, we know we are at risk of a greater berry volume decline and at risk of a greater risk of color degradation. Fortunately, as the climate indices was anticipating, we observed the lowest amount of water stress experienced by the plant. So you see all the indexes during period 3, 4, and 5 are pointing at the same thing. The fruit is not perceiving any stress signal from a water standpoint during the whole season. So low water deficit during period 5 suggests good condition to reach even the peak color after the peak sugar has been reached, and show that there is a minimum risk for berry volume loss and color loss. So with that understanding of the relationship and expectation linking water deficit during period 3, 4, and 5 and its result on yield, color, and normal ripening pattern, we had an opportunity for California at large to really rethink irrigation strategy. And that's when I started to speak with Sudeshna 4 years ago. And she came up with the question, how can we assess the effect of water saving on yield and fruit composition while not confusing them with the effect of vigor variations? And it's a difficult question because if you try to monitor the vineyard from an atmospheric perspective, you are encompassing high and low vigor zone into your assessment of your irrigation trial. So the answer to that question is to set aside a given level of vigor from being parameters in the equation and specifically look for the same level of vigor, how different level of water status could impact yield and food composition, in a similar fashion to what Pierre has done in his work. So to summarize what I'm saying, the goal of refining irrigation threshold in viticulture, I'm speaking very broad term, is to single out the effect that vigor variation have, so spatial variations, from the effect that plant transpiration variation have, so temporal variations, on yield and fruit composition. But before I let Sudeshna explain her work, why even imposing drought if we can irrigate? Well, from a winemaker standpoint, you have at least 4 incentives to maximize the periods during which the plant experiences drought. Why? Because it has been shown in the literature that exposure to moderate periods of drought will acclimate plants better to sustain more drought stress later. So you have everything to gain in terms of making your vineyard more sustainable by making your vineyard more familiar to sustaining drought early during the season. Plus, it's going to stimulate deeper root absorption sites. In other words, your plant level of access to water will be less dependent upon the level of soil moisture content variation in the topsoil, but more dependent upon what's happening at the deeper soil horizons, which is precisely where soil moisture content varies less brutally. So your plant water status should show less sudden variations. You'll obtain better food color extraction, as the Australians have shown, and you improve phenolic content with moderate water deficit, specifically during period 3. So in that concept, we are going to discuss if we can define different irrigation threshold that still does not degrade yield or food composition by understanding water needs at a plant level, understand from there the relationship between plant water stress and fruit production to validate that the new irrigation threshold is not jeopardizing vineyard production. And from there, we'll elaborate within an analytical framework how we can use those plant-based thresholds to refine and scale up irrigation decision by leveraging aerial images and atmospheric measurement. So this is in this concept that Sudeshna is going to present her results. So Sudeshna, thank you for coming and share with us the result of your project.